You want to hear the real story behind the rock artists, the albums, and the songs that have become the soundtrack of your life, straight from the legends who lived them? I'm Adam Reeder, the Professor of Rock, and on the Professor of Rock podcast, we go deep into the heart of the music that defines us and our greatest memories. Exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes moments, and the untold truths of rock's greatest hits, told by the artists themselves, stories you won't find anywhere else. If music moves you, this is your backstage pass. Subscribe now to the Professor of Rock podcast.
Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan. This is Talk Cosmos, and today is, I always have to check this, it is the 5th of October. We're moving into that last autumnal quadrant of the year. And our subject today is going to be 29 degrees and 0 degrees. They're the tipping point. Well, we're going to talk about these degrees that seem to finalize and enter the realms, because astrology, we want to remember, is always about the cycles, that ever evolving, spiraling evolution. So with that said, I think I'm just going to introduce our wonderful special guests that we have for this. And I will say too, for this particular presentation, I don't have any slides. That's my new beginning. It's like, we're going to have a fireside chat. So let's find out who I'm chatting with. I have Marie O'Neill and Jen Sachs. Hi.
Hello.
So good to see you here. You know, this was, it was inspired from our Astro Jam when we did our little theatrical show about the eclipses. Let me introduce Marie. Marie O'Neill is an evolutionary astrologer, a coach, and speaker. Her website is Padma Life Coaching. She wrote a book, And the Lotus Opened. She also is a co-host on Kepler College YouTube series, Let's Talk Astrology Business. She has a website. Well, she has a website, of course, but she has a YouTube program that also illustrates a lot of wonderful little chats and talks. And indeed, Marie does retreats several times a year, and she's part of the Wine Country Speakers. So am I. And we just concluded a little webinar yesterday. So Marie is also a distinguished Toastmaster and board of directors of this TED in, the TED Talks in Sonoma. Thank you, Marie. I'm so glad you're joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You can also find her on Substack. Jen Sachs is a certified astrologer with the AFA and a tarot reader. Yes, certified through Biddy Tarot with 20 years of experience and does consultations. And she later in life was diagnosed with autism, and it gives her that unique perspective in connection with astrology, I think, telepathy tapes and all kinds of things that have shown us that there's strong benefits and dynamics, such as our 29 degrees that we're going to discover about. And her, after decades of private practice, she's reaching out through social media. So perhaps we're just gaining a really visible view of Jen. She's also on the board of the Kepler Astrology Toastmasters club. And her website is jensachsastrology.com. So hi, Jen. This is great.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you both.
Yeah. Myself, I'm an evolutionary astrologer studying vibrational astrology. I have anyway, you can find out about me. Just go to Talk Cosmos. So, hello. Let's do our fireside chat.
Do you have your coffee? Where's the fire?
Well, should we start off by saying our shared placements into how this all kind of started?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
we are coming from, I had mentioned, the three of us stayed after one time, and I mentioned that I have a Mercury Virgo retrograde at 29 degrees. And both of these wonderful ladies said, that's my ascendant.
Absolutely. My ascendant, well, all of my angles are 29 degrees, 59 minutes. So I have a Virgo ascendant, 29:59, Gemini midheaven, 29:59. Saturn is 29 degrees, 6 minutes of Capricorn. The nodes might as well be 29 degrees because they're at 0, and the nodes go backwards. And it's, balsamic moon, just, yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm in good company because I personally have a 29-degree Virgo rising, and my Saturn is 0 degrees Virgo. So it toggles the entire, I don't know if it toggles. They're in Virgo. But with that, yes, all my angles are at 29 degrees, but I also have at the midheaven, which is Gemini 29, on the 10th house, Uranus at 29, and on the right side in the 9th house, Venus 29. And they're both out of bounds. So,
yeah.
It
So, I mean,
adds to the...
Yeah. So how do we experience this? I mean, this is what we're going to be talking about, because a lot of people don't have those placements, those degree placements, and they don't know. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And we were inspired through this solar eclipse that was at 29 degrees Virgo. And it was a new eclipse, relatively speaking, because the family of eclipses last 1,200 years. And this one was just the 7th. And therefore, nobody really, not many people saw it. Was starting down at the South Pole, involving the oceans mostly. But we're experiencing the eclipse. I think that's my...
Yeah. It's just that so many people don't know how to even interpret.
And ourselves, as I was reading, trying to catch up with the reality of, okay, what do other people really think about this? If it's 29 degrees, the idea is you have karma involved. There's a baggage, whether you've brought it into life. But the fact being that you have all this potential of mastery, and life can test you to find out if you have that mastery. And one idea is that sometimes we run away from that.
I don't know that you can run away with 29 degrees, because I don't know. I think about it for myself as being on a cross,
It's a crisis point.
Is that what you find, Jen?
I was thinking of this a lot this morning, and a 29 degree kind of feels to me like I'm all packed up, I'm ready to go, and I'm in my taxi going to the airport, and then I realized, oh no, I didn't get a taxi. I ordered an Uber. Where am I going? So it's like, I'm on my way. We are getting somewhere. But that is also the experience with 29 degree, is it's like, it is at the very end of the zodiac understanding. So it's like, okay, there's this opportunity to use the resources that are available. Mm-hmm. And at 29 degrees, even though things feel hurried or rushed, or like, oh no, I'm over here whenever I thought I was over there, it's just an opportunity to really use the wit and use the moment and what is available within the process and just right in front of us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. To me, that really shows that you've mastered that particular sign or that energy for that sign. And to me, it's like the postdoctorate degree that you're getting, because I believe in past lives. And I believe that when we have a 29 degree anything, we've spent many lifetimes working on those lessons, those energies. And now it's okay, it's time to graduate, but you've got to prove to yourself that you have mastered this. And
And
you
these-
will. Yeah.
Yes. And depending on the sign, of course, we're all talking about Virgo here. It's a mutable sign. And one of the things it does, just by its nature, is discerning. So it's bringing in, it's looking at the whole buffet that's been delivered to it. And so it's easy to look, as you were mentioning, Jen, looking at this or looking at that, kind of contemplating and discerning. And I think that's also what I read about it, because there are factors that I feel very strongly in my life that I realize, oh, well, I guess that's the beauty of astrology. It shows you come by it rightfully, honestly, as my mother would say, because it's just part of the nature of it that one can vacillate in making those decisions, because there are many factors like the mastery that, involved.
Yeah. So then should we talk about the, whether it's a mutable, fixed, or cardinal? Should we talk about that and what that energy is? Because people may not know.
Well, I love your question. And I really felt trusting that inviting both of you and engaging together, we would work in this dialogue, this stoking the fire of our thoughts, because I started to contemplate, okay, not all signs are so critically feeling anxiety because they're going into the next sign. And then also it might depend on the houses. It did occur to me that certain ones feel more of this anxiety. But I think what you're saying is prior to that, because as we know, astrology has its cardinal energy that just moves ahead, action oriented. Then we have that energy that coagulates into a form that sits and rests, whether it's ice like Scorpio or whether it's earth like Taurus. And then we have the mutable. Yeah, that kind of just,
yeah.
And it can seem like it's crumbling for some signs, and other signs it's just sort of evolving and reaching out.
Well, I can tell you, having 29 degree Saturn in Capricorn, I am so freaking ready to move. And Saturn says, but wait, there's more.
Well, that is, and you are very, the capabilities, I think that's a very intriguing idea, because my Saturn is at 0 degrees, Virgo, which is totally different. For me, it's this pure essence of possibilities that are yet undiscovered. And there's a real challenge to figure out the organizational method of where things fit and how to use it. And sometimes I have to see the whole picture in order to form that. Whereas you're working, having completed something, and I can see where you're just saying, hey, it's baked. Let's get the banquet going.
Yeah, somebody give me a toothpick to stick in there, because it's got to be ready. It's got to be ready.
And it comes out a little gooey still.
I know.
5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Yeah, I don't have anything at 0 degree. I do have a couple like earlier signs, but I just being a reader and giving birth to a human with 29 and 0 degrees, it's my perspective that the 0 degree is like a baby. It's new, it's innocent. There's an excitement to what's ahead within the new sign. And there's a load of wisdom in that. I know 29 degree is often the one labeled with wisdom, but there's tons of wisdom in the innocence and the Fool card and those types of things. So 29 degree is the baby. And how do babies communicate? Is they
You meant 0 degrees is the baby.
Yeah. And they communicate by, crying through a reaction of sensation. So it's like, it's not knowing how to really put things into form to communicate it verbally. Whereas 29 degree, it's almost like, okay, I see it. And now I have this opportunity to respond with wisdom from my experience. So there is this need with 29 degree to kind of like take a step back and look at what has happened.
Oh yeah. One is reactionary and the other one isn't. As far
Very
as
much. Yeah. And perhaps, pardon me, Marie, I hope I didn't jump in too soon, but what I'm thinking is very much like the cycle of the moon or Mercury or Venus when one's rising or setting, the evening or the morning stars. And we often think, especially with Venus, that the rising is more of the initiating, conquesting energy, whereas the setting is the wisdom keeper of not, the full capacity. So
yeah, but they're both quite powerful. I know people who have that 0 degrees. A dear friend of mine has 0 degrees of the next sign over from me. So instead of having Saturn in Capricorn, it's Saturn in Aquarius, or Saturn in Pisces, actually, at 0 degrees. And it's like, well, that's also critical because what her explanation is, she's like, she doesn't get off the cross either. Her karmic retribution for anything that she does is instant.
Yes. I think
there is no, and it's the same with me, but it's different in that I pay attention to my intention behind everything I say and do. It's automatic.
Yeah, the self-awareness it can be debilitating in these later degrees, especially 29 degrees.
It can be.
I love the accountability idea. And perhaps that's because we both have Saturn at an anaretic, at 29-0. And just to remind people, because most of listeners might be astrologers, but in case you're not, the zodiac has 12 signs. So each of those are divided equally into 30 degrees. So the 29th is actually the 30th, goes from 29th to 30th degree. Meaning
that's because we start at 0.
Right.
And the 0 degree for each sign seems to be a little different as well. Like Marie, you brought up that a friend of yours has a 0 degree in Pisces, and Pisces period has a wisdom all of its own. So just that 0 degree, even though there's that freshness of the sign, there's still a great knowledge of experience and spiritual wisdom of the astrology chart prior to that sign, which is every other sign except
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I heard, where I heard this, but somebody said that we spend, I think it was an esoteric philosophy, we spend so many lifetimes in a particular sign before we move on.
Oh, yes. 7, perhaps. Oh, I don't know about 7.
I don't remember how many it is, but you can look at people. So here's just like what Jen just said, you can look at people with 0 degrees and they are quite wise because of all those lifetimes that they've spent learning. And so now they're just starting a new cycle.
0 in numerology is the completion. It's the wholeness. It's the egg. It has all the potential. It's like the seed. It is that universal all. So yes, it does make sense. And I was thinking, if you look at numerology, 2-9 adds up to 11, and 11, it can very much be that quest. It's one of the first master numbers, but there's this idea too of questing beyond more, not being finished yet.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to ask you guys, what's your thoughts on the 29 and 0 degrees of the fixed?
I'm writing this down so I can remember. Is that autism we spoke about earlier?
Well, yes, because fixed can be comfortable, especially let's start with Taurus. it can feel very much attached to it because it's sensory. And so it feels, it embraces everything so much.
Do you think it's in the body already? It's got to be.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be.
29 degrees.
Yeah, it has to be. And therefore, if you go ahead, though, just scouting out, just looking first at what they're feeling rather than what first as their own sign. If we look at Leo, that's our manifestation. Yes, it's who we are. So we can feel, I dislike the word pride. I think satisfied or glad about that, but still it's like we think we've given ourselves a star.
Well, but there is a term in Buddhism called Vajra pride, which is without the ego.
I love it.
It is still pride, but just the ego isn't there. And that takes a lot of work to get.
Yes. Because it's almost like, I would think, like setting your creation out into the world and then letting the world decide what they're going to do with it. You don't really own it anymore.
No
or
attachment.
Like a child. Yeah, it's like a child.
No attachment.
So then we go to Scorpio, and that's water, but it's like the iceberg. It's holding a lot.
Yes, and gripping onto even more.
Yes.
And it's cold. But it is like salt. It people want to freeze themselves. Some people do.
Not me. Oh, you mean cryogenics?
Yes, thank you. That was the word.
I wonder what degree their signs are.
I don't know. But we're finding people in the different Serbia or wherever, the Arctics. Even there was talk. I don't know if I shouldn't repeat it because I did not read this, but my husband was telling me that in the Antarctic, they found something frozen that was, well, you never know what's true and not. You have to really research. Right. But perhaps it was alien. I don't know. So that's emotions. Yeah. But all those emotions, that's a deep subject. They say, stillness is a.
Yeah. And, with Scorpio, there's this magnetism as well. So people are very much through life and through experience, we are here to transform. We're always aging. We're always coming up with new ideas. The world's doing whatever it's doing to us. And so there is this attraction with the Scorpion energy, whether you have it or not, because with just any Scorpio placements, there is this natural way of being to take things in, transmute them, and have the death rebirth process. And I feel like with Scorpio, with like a 0 or 29 degrees, there is more so with the 0 degrees, it's like, I am fixed in this newness, and there could be this need for Scorpio to learn how to set boundaries. And that's probably going to come from the Scorpio 0 degree being mistreated or put into situations that are very unsafe for that placement. And then for 29 degrees, it could potentially be the opposite, where they're overly boundaried with themselves and other people. They're setting boundaries on other people. Pluto very much sets taboo boundaries whenever every time Pluto changes signs, we have a new fear, and here comes some laws with it. So that's what I would see with this fixed water energy with the 0 and 29.
I like that. The only thing that I would even remotely add to that is, Scorpio is the sign of death, and, it's what we must let go of, but we're holding on to. And the universe comes along with that Scorpio and says, okay, you must die to this. And I would think that it would be easier for 29 degree Scorpio to know instinctively when the death is coming and to just allow it versus the 0 degree.
That's probably a good point, because Scorpio is our emotions, deep emotions, the psychological why of how we operate, and also the mysterious occult of change that's the metaphysical between time. And it's an exchange of resources, meaning that it's ready and has already prepared through so many changes that I think it's ready to look at the Sagittarius sense of what they've gained to express their beliefs, from war.
Well, yeah. I mean, in Scorpio, that's where the war is fought. And it's the war between the personality and the soul.
Yes, the fixed,
It's, because the personality wants to keep control and the soul is fighting to get control over the being in esoteric philosophy. And so you fight that war. You think about, where is Scorpio on the wheel? It's that 8th house.
Well, it's about to set. The sun is, as they've said, is about to set. But as I've also been taught with Scorpio, it's really about life. They want to live, yet they're fearful that, as you were mentioning about the past lives here, Jen, that they might have been betrayed, or can they trust? Can they really trust these other people that they have such a commitment for? And not just a commitment abstractly, but their lives depend on this relationship for their survival. So it's a deep one. Shall we move on to Aquarius? The last of the fixed. Jumping into the next one.
Did we do Sag? Did we do?
Well, no, but we're doing fixed, right?
Fixed. Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're moving.
Yeah, fixed.
So that's air. It fixed air. But I often have wondered too, like they say it's the most opinionated of all the fixity. And I think maybe because it is the mental, if it's not involving the water, emotion, or the heart of compassion, it's just strictly thinking, kind of in a logical, sequential, however way, as genius as it might be. And isn't that like a hurricane or a tornado, maybe?
Well, it is air, but I mean, we've been just dealing with the 0 degrees with Pluto.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you think about, if each person thinks about what was going on in their lives when Pluto was at 0 degrees, which wasn't that long ago because Pluto's at 1 degree now, it'll tell you how that 0 degrees Aquarius is operating. I think it's in your life.
Yeah, it's been several years because it's going back to 1, but it's not going to 0.
It was just last year.
It was at 0 degree Aquarius 3 times.
Yeah. So, 5 times maybe, I think, in fact, if I might say. But go ahead, Jen.
Possibly. Yes, but the last time it ingressed into Aquarius was last November. It was right around that wicked.
Yes, thank you. That's right.
I'm talking about a movie.
Was it last November? Okay.
It was.
So then looking back at your life back then to see what was going on and what Pluto brought up, because I mean, with Pluto, it always, to me, brings up the shadow first, or at least that's what we see, but it also brings up your gifts. But you think about Aquarius and what it's asking. What is our involvement and connection with the whole, with the collective? How do we sit? The group. I love it. This is a perfect time to take just a tiny little getaway. Think of yourself teeter-tottering between the 29 and the 0. We will come back. This is Talk Cosmos with Marie O'Neill, Jen Sachs, and myself about these points of our experiences. Okay, thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the Yang period of Libra, ruled dually by Venus. By leaving the lower hemisphere of the self, the energy of Libra enters the arena where the completed self meets the other than self to form a relationship based on partnership. As a cardinal air sign on the descendant angle, represented by the equinox of equal light, Libra's energy learns through comparison and relationships, with the intention to integrate duality and polarities.
Talk Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Multicultural, multidimensional even. Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi, we're back again, and we're talking about the 29 degrees, the last one of the zodiac, whatever sign it's in, although it was inspired by this solar eclipse that we just experienced in Virgo back on the 21st of September, and then 0 degrees. The outer planets are doing this. There's a talent trine. That's where there's a trine between two planets and something is sextile between that. And what sextile is this, as you mentioned, Marie, just as we all know, Jen and I, that Saturn and Neptune are toggling. This is between the last sign of Pisces and the first sign of Aries. And they're going to enter next year on the 20th of February, enter a new seed of starts. So we're at that point of gestations.
Yeah,
experience.
at the world point too. And so you think about the world point and being 0 degrees.
I know. It's like so many wheels have to be turning to get ready. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I can see both your little minds going. And just back at the talent trine. This is where I wish I almost had a slide. But those involve the ones that we're experiencing, all of them. They happen to be, that are between 0 and 29. They happen to be Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. How incredible.
So Jen, what do you think this is about?
We are the new humanity, and if I think about whenever Pluto was in those last degrees of Capricorn and the lockdown happened and all the things happened, and that was a period of time where I declared the entire world has PTSD. And and I believe a lot of that. So, but it's, and while that was happening, and so let me kind of so Pluto in Capricorn and then into Aquarius, and there was like this back and forthness. Pluto went into Aquarius 3 times, and every time there was this back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius. And something I failed to mention is both Capricorn and Aquarius are the 2 zodiac signs that are ruled by Saturn. And what does Saturn rule but time? Capricorn is the time of what we know and what has been. So things that are traditional, things that are just put into place already, rules and systems and regulations. It doesn't matter, that whole tradition thing. It doesn't matter with Capricorn. You show up to Nana's every holiday. I don't care if there's ice on the road. You go to Nana's. That's what you do.
Yeah, and those potatoes are overdone too.
Seriously.
Never mind.
And I don't like the gravy.
Seriously. Yeah. And then where Aquarius rules time, it's forward. So it's like, where can we go? Where are we going?
It breaks the system. Yeah, breaks the routine.
Mm-hmm. And then going back to having Pluto, the planet of transformation and change, it's, in Capricorn, during the pandemic, it didn't just change like what we know. Our family dynamics around the globe changed. People were going no contact with their family for the first time, having new boundaries, shared resources, things that Pluto does. And then now we're in this Aquarius. So, but while this back and forth was happening with Pluto, Saturn itself was in Pisces, which is the last zodiac of the sign, as I was saying earlier. And Pisces is an expression of nostalgia, where we have been, knowing everything. And there is just this element of with Pluto transitioning, and now we're into Aquarius and we're stayed here. But there's just this element of we are the new humanity, and we had to destroy what we have known to become what we know we can be. And that is something about Aquarius. Don't tell my father this, but Aquarius is the most intelligent sign. Like, it is the water bearer for a reason. It takes that intuition from Neptune, the higher mind, and it pours it down onto Mercury so that Mercury can bring things into fruition. Aquarius just has a bunch of ideas and somehow gets there. I love that sign. But yeah, I think I answered your question. Maybe I went off on a tangent.
No. I love that, because I totally agree. And we see that happening in our world too. I mean, we see it on the macro cosmic scale, but it's happening in our lives because we have Pluto somewhere in our chart. And Saturn, and we have them. And so this is happening to us on the micro scale, and we may feel it. I can't imagine we wouldn't feel it. Yeah. But it's happening in our lives. And the thing is, unfortunately, our fear causes us to want to hold on to what is already dead.
If I might suggest, yes, that it really gets down to whether a person, the known and the unknown, what's familiar, that allows, we were just asking about all these fixed signs that give us that familiarity and that safety and whatnot. And it gets down into trust of the universe too. Are the changes, because changes can be very challenging. Change is part of the universe. Evolution happens. Energy never gets destroyed. It just recreates. So there's always going to be an element of change. And when it's brought onto us through whatever form, whether it's natural, whether it's social, economics, politically, there's many factors involved. It's health. It isn't always so easy. So what I'm getting at is, yes, we have Pluto as one of these characters in our scene. And we also have Uranus as a character that disrupts the rhythm. And actually, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius.
Aquarius, yeah.
And so they're really tightly embodied. And we also have Neptune, and we have Saturn. No, I said Saturn. So the whole characters are working in this dynamic business. If we look, I didn't look at the nation, well, the world, but nationally speaking, for this country of the United States, where we're all speaking and the dynamics of, in a sense, like a filter over our own charts. These planets are also being activated because in the solar return
for this year,
July 4th, 2025, it happened to be that, and whatever the transits are is what the solar return is. But Uranus was at 29 degrees Taurus, and Venus was right next to it at 0 degrees Gemini. So it seems like we were ready to change what we're fixed with as far as our resources and renew them through some idea of new values, which isn't that, in a sense, the new humanity a little bit?
Yeah. Well, and when you think about Venus at 0 degrees, man, she loves experience. And in Gemini, I mean, it's variety all the way, and it's trying new things. But it's also what you value and what type of relationships you're going to have. And coming out of Taurus, because remember that Gemini is the antidote for Taurus. And so I did not look at the Saturn at our solar return this year for the country.
I did just before this show. I was curious, so that I thought,
which is it's quite fascinating. But I find it also interesting that we're dealing with 29 degrees and 0 degrees with say, coming out of water and earth, going into fire and air. So, so the new degrees, the 0 degrees, are really going to be fire and air. So when we look at that, just fire and air.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're going from receptive to giving. It's like, I will receive energy to, I'm going to put energy out there. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see what we experience as the world. And we just had, not really to get political, we just had the UN meet, and that represents really the world.
It does, on a social.
So just so, and also, I do believe we are realizing that we are connected to the rest of the world, and everything we do affects your neighbor in another country, regardless of what country you're in.
This could be where we're moving. All of us, I was strongly thinking about this last night because I'm part of other study groups, and some of them are very international. And I found myself with a bunch of people that lived in Europe or Australia, all over the place. And so my voice was only mine, and they're experiencing dynamics and migration issues too, between cultures. But it started me to think that really, what's the purpose I don't know about purpose, like, oh, it's morally right or wrong, but what's the direction that things are going? And it is this unity. And it could be the unity, whether it's not just thoughts, but it's of cultures, it's of physicality, so that our differences won't be so glaring. Yeah, that one can perceive like what seems to be obvious, but actually not important.
Absolutely. Like, that's why I think that I think Jane Goodall's soul timed her death at the right moment. Because it's still, she is well known, and she has fought for most of her life for nature. In her last interview, which was done, I think, in September before she died, she talked about us as humans having to realize that we are a part of nature, that we're not separate.
Yes.
And that, corporations and individuals, we have to come together to work out the differences and to work for the species of humanity, which is also the other kingdoms of nature. Because we won't survive. Yeah, we won't survive. So you think about fire and air at 0 degrees. It's like, whew, that's going to go fast.
Yes. Yeah. And there's almost like a butterfly effect with fire and air. Because every sign just has its own intuition, and fire signs have a very physical intuition. Like, I got to get up, I got to move now. And air signs have this mental intuition of just picking up knowledge and organizing it. And to kind of touch on what was asked earlier, I just kind of see that happening. We're starting to see where my actions here in Seattle, Washington are somehow mycelium-ing their way to different parts of the world that I've never even been to or even know about, because I'm terrible at geography.
It's a good point. It is just beautiful. I'm really thinking about these elements because fire is, of course, heat, and thinking on its elemental terms. And air is quite, as we know, mercurial, but is mercurial because water is composed of 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen, H2O, meaning that air transports between water. It's the conduit of water, and the heat or the temperature, whether we have heat or not have heat, helps regulate it because it evaporates and then it falls down. It goes from the salt to the fresh. And then, of course, that feeds the land, or else it's barren in that land. So they're so interconnected. But you're right that it's fast with these two energies happening, because if you have just air and fire, oh boy.
Well, I mean, when I think of Aries is that initial spark. It's the first sign. So we've got 0 degrees at the first sign of the zodiac. That is powerful. And it's a fire sign. So it's going to initiate. And then we've got, Aquarius. When I first started studying astrology, I thought the glyph for Aquarius was water.
Oh, yeah.
Or because of, the
waves,
the waves or whatever. And then I went to, it can't be water. That's got to be air. But actually, it's electrical. It's just
waves.
It's just electric. It's like this current.
Frequency.
Back to the future.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Frequency, waves. It again and again, whether it's quantum physics, whether it's vibrational astrology or
But then you think about Gemini, and Gemini on the evolved level, it is about right human relationships, because Gemini is really, it's the connector. It's the communicator. But what is right communication? And at 0 degrees, we're wrestling with this. And then you look at all the 29 degrees that we have come out of. We are finishing a cycle and moving into another one. It's humongous. And I do believe what's going on in the world is based on the fear of moving into the new. I really do. And, people wanting to hold on to what was for thousands of years. Because when was the last time we had this conjunction with Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees Aries? I mean, we're talking hundreds.
Oh, I'm not. Yes, especially in Aries. It's not just in conjunction.
Right. It's in Aries.
I think it goes back to BC.
Exactly. And I think that's the cycle that is ending.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting? So every time there's a Saturn Neptune conjunction. Thank you. There's a big burst of mental health awareness, education. The DSM-5 book came out during that. Autism very much has the Saturn Neptune theme to it as well, in terms of like awareness and all of that, as you're seeing with all of us being diagnosed off of TikTok in the last couple of years. But it's, with this going from 29 degree Pisces into 0 degree Aries and all the other points that we've touched on through this conversation, there's this element of time heals everything. And there is a big fear of moving on, and it is hard to just let things go and to welcome in new change. And I feel like, at least just my perspective of this Saturn Neptune is very much dissolving the reality, or at least dissolving our ability to grip onto those aspects of us that we are having a hard time letting go of.
Yeah. Faith comes into this. And I don't mean faith like, there's this omnipresent being that people have transplanted.
Oh, come on. He's a white dude with a beard.
Well, for some, yes. And so at any rate, I'm not just scratching that whole idea. You're right. But back, I got brainwashed here. I got sidetracked. Wait a minute. What was I talking about? That was, what were we? I mean, actually, I did.
We were talking about Neptune being the spiritual. And you said
it is a spiritual cognitator of life. And actually, I'm going somewhere else. That just really, I shouldn't have even brought that up, because it's so antithesis to what I'm thinking. Oh, goodness. Yes. fear. Okay, back to fear and faith. That's what I was thinking. Faith.
Mhm.
Faith, as far as our 29 0 degrees, is where I was reading. If there's all this culmination, you finish a cycle, you have the mastery, but do you have the mastery? Because maybe you see more things, but there comes a point of faith and jumping, just leaping. I know I do this so much. I have 29 degrees, all my angles. I've got vertex Pisces on the descendant, besides Uranus, Venus at the top. And I'll deliberate and deliberate and deliberate. And I thought, gee, that was Virgo. But no, it's this 29 degrees. And suddenly it just goes, boink, I'm going. And so I think, yes, the fears that we have, what's the antidote to fear is love. Mm-hmm. But love means trust, and trust takes experience.
You've got to cultivate it.
And meaning that we have many purposes here among ourselves. If we can help generate whatever it is, any kind of connection, because if you know something, it's like flying. I worked for the airlines, and there was a pilot on the land, but he gave classes because there are people that fly that are scared to fly, which just shocks me. Why would they even put themselves in that position? But I guess they need to. And so he teaches them what to expect on the airplane, that how the people rule, how the plane might work, or what all the people around them are supporting them for. And it gives them a little familiarity, right? I was thinking about this, what can we offer, even whether it's today's talk or whether anybody moves out in their life, by using these energies of networking, new humanity, through huge spans of time. When you consider we're all in 3 different locations, you're on the mainland, I'm in the ocean, more or less. We can bridge. We can be that bridge to help navigate.
Yeah, we certainly can. And my goodness, with Uranus going into Gemini and Pluto being in an Aquarius, we know that they're trying. And with the World Wide Web, regardless of what people think, it's the great connector. There is no reason for us to be isolated. Yeah. We have to look at other people's views. We have to be open-minded. That's my view. And support each other.
Yeah. And Saturn and Neptune will be that link, because in vibrational astrology, it's considered to be on its highest level spiritual.
Oh.
Because just what you were saying, Jen, it breaks down what's essential, and in the Neptunian sense of showing what is magical or extraordinary, and you combine that, it's the ethereal.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about the fact that we're not alone in the universe.
Right.
Lead on. Yes.
That's going to be fascinating too, because I don't know. I just think that that's coming for people to realize on a global scale. I think,
with aliens.
Well, are they alien? They're alien to us, but then we're alien to them.
Like bugs. Bugs are alien, but they're not. Yeah. I
don't know. Jen, what do you say?
I think we're the aliens, honestly. Yeah. I mean, and I watched They Live as a kid, and then I moved to LA, and I was like, okay, this works. So, yes.
Well, that's a good point. Anything unfamiliar is alien. So we are moving into our own alien vision of what the new humanity will be. And
absolutely.
As we go through this tipping point. Yeah. And it's a process. Thank you, Marie O'Neill. Thank you, Jen Sachs.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
And everybody there have a good, may your adventure be brilliant.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Welcome in the change. Time heals everything.
Oh, it sure does.
you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.